Hi everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. All right, so let's talk about how should you approach cat verbal ability. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have taken at least one mock, right? And you all know about cat's pattern. You all know that 8 questions in cat come from this area that we call verbal ability. Right? Good noon, Sonali. Hi, Harshad. Good afternoon. So, can you tell me which all question types come from VA, verbal ability, before I launch into a discussion about it? Good afternoon, Nikita. I hope all of you are doing well. Right. Good afternoon, Shri. So, which all question types come under verbal ability? Parajumbles, parasummary, so paragraph based questions, right? Parajumbles, parasummary, and this new question type that came last time, you can call it para completion, or it can also be called a position decider question because you had to decide the position of the sentence in the paragraph, right? So these are the question types, you're absolutely correct, that come under verbal ability. Now the question is how to approach them separately as question types and how to approach this area collectively, these 8 questions collectively. That is what we are going to be discussing today. Okay, so I'll first show you an analysis of the previous year papers, right? We'll then see how to approach these question types, and then I'll give you an overall strategy for approaching this VA section, this VA part in the VARC section, right? It is a very tempting section and it is a very scoring section also. It in total carries 24 marks, and 3 of the questions, that is 9 marks, do not even have any negative marking to them, right? So it is indeed a scoring area, and a student should never think of scoring, let's say, of leaving VA completely and scoring entirely from the RC passages. I do not advocate this approach, right? So first, let's analyze what all came last year. Then let's analyze what all has come in the last 6 years, right? Based on that, we can make an informed decision because students are at sea when I talk to them about VA. They feel that, okay, where should I start my prep from? How should I practice? Even if I practice, I'm getting questions wrong in the mock. What should I do about it? So I'll address all these queries today. Okay, and of course, we are going to practice some questions. Okay, so look at this. Parasummary genres in CAT 2022. If you see, the genres of parasummary in CAT 22 were so diverse, right? Two questions being from history, two from culture, one from linguistics. This is a popular question genre with CAT, right? Linguistics. Technology, again, technology, I think is, we are so enveloped around technology that it has become a very important topic for us, be it for VA, be it for RC. So I think you should read up a lot on technology, right? Science and tech. Philosophy. So lately we have seen a resurgence of philosophy based questions in CAT. So if you pick up the last 2 years papers, you will find philosophy based RC passages also, and in the VA also you will find philosophy sprinkled across questions. So again becomes an important genre for you. Politics, okay. Politics, political ideology, and one was on art. It was about museums, right? So these were the genres of your para summary questions. This itself gives you the idea that you need to read widely, yes? You need to be eclectic readers. So, um, I'll also give you the sources from where you should read. Of course, that is not an exhaustive list. It's just an indicative list based on an analysis of your past year papers, right? Parajumbles in CAT 2022. Now, here I am talking about both parajumbles, odd sentence out parajumbles also, and sequence, type in the answer parajumbles as well. I've categorized them together. So if you see, um, two were from business. So sorry, in CAT 2022, we did not have odd sentence out parajumbles. Okay, my bad. We just had type in the answer parajumbles. So this is an analysis of that for CAT 2022, right? So in business for when it comes to the genre business, we had two questions. It talked about employees productivity, it talked about the creative industry, the influencers, the freelancers. Zoology, there was one on fish skin collagen, right? uh, Environment, there was one about pollution, right? Linguistics, again we talked about language, we talked about, I have the one such question also for you today, right? Technology, again, see, linguistics, technology, again we find it here. Politics, again here. Gender, so this comes under sociology if you want to categorize it broadly. So there was about why women cook. There was a parajumble regarding that. One was autobiographical, where an author talked about her childhood, okay, and one was about culture, right? The culture of our times. So this again tells you that you need to be eclectic readers, right? We can see so many genres here, right? And para completion or position decider questions, which were a new question type for you. Two of them were from technology. So see again, technology rules, culture, one each from business and sociology. Why am I showing you these genres? So that you get some sense, okay? You're able to at least narrow down to what were the dominant VA genres in CAT 2022, right? So technology, culture, business, these were the dominant genres. And this will help you in deciding, okay, that this is something that I should definitely read on. Of course, I should read on more genres, but this I should definitely read on. Okay. Now you must be thinking that, see, this is just the last year, right? This is just CAT 2022. What about the other years? What about, let's say, the last 6 years? So look at this piece of information here, and this will tell you which genres you should definitely focus on. See, technology comes here as well. So a must do. Science and tech, biology. Okay, so you've had BA questions from the area of biology. So for instance, fish skin collagen, that is zoology. Zoology is a part of biology, right? Linguistics. So I've seen so many para summary questions that talk about the English language or that talk about language in general, right? So these have been some dominant genres in CAT VA from 17 to 22. So one third of the total questions came from here. Okay, and this year culture and business also were dominant, right? Because see, this is what 11 questions out of your 24 questions. So that means approximately 50% of your paper came, of your VA came from these three genres. So do you see something? You must be thinking, no, these are so many genres. And then, for RCs also, yesterday only we discussed this, that sociology and anthropology is important, right? I told you this. Then we also talked about how biology, ecology, environment, that is important, right? Science and tech is important. This is for RCs. And philosophy and psychology is important. So now combine these two. So for RCs, you'll be reading these. For VA, okay, this is common, but okay, you'll be reading three more genres, right? So you must be thinking, ये तो कितना सारा हो गया. I agree that okay, this may seem a lot, but trust me, when you pick up the various sources, that I'm going to suggest to you, or the popular sources for CAT RC passages, they automatically have articles on these topics, quite a few articles on these topics. So you won't feel that you have to read something that is very esoteric or very niche. No, these are popular topics of our times. What we are suggesting to you, popular genres of our times. So nothing out of the box as such here, right? Okay. So what is my conclusion? There is no choice for you but to be an eclectic reader and an eclectic solver. There is no other choice, right? You have to read widely, you have to solve widely. Okay, just keep in mind what I've told you about VA here. Okay, keep this particularly in mind when you practice for VA, when you read for VA. Okay. Now, if I have to quickly tell you about the sources of your CAT 22 VA, so some common sources that I analyzed the papers and some common sources that emerged. So the good news is that the sources are very similar to what you're reading for RC passages. Of course, there were questions from book excerpts also. In VA also, just like in RCs, there were questions from book excerpts that was there. Okay, so books do remain a good source. However, some common sources, The Guardian, The Economist, Financial Times, Eon, the NYT, the Smithsonian Mag. We recommend all of these to you for RCs as well, don't we? And some new ones that I came across, The Conversation, Harvard Magazine, these two magazines were the new ones that I came across. So, if you have been reading from these sources for your RC passages, the reading part, that means you are reading for VA also automatically. You need not worry separate. Hello, hello. Am I visible and audible now? Tell me. Okay. Uh, I think I am visible and audible now. So I was saying that we will attempt some para summary questions. Okay, we'll see one para summary question actually, but my focus is more on the approach today, how to approach a para summary question, because students often say that we are getting these incorrect. So how to ensure accuracy, that is what my focus is going to be on. Okay. All right then. So your approach is very simple. Okay, a para summary, treat a paragraph as a shortened passage only. Right, it's a short version of a passage. Or you can say a passage is a collection of multiple paragraphs, whichever way you want to put it. So what should my approach be? Read the paragraph for key ideas. What do I mean by that? How do I identify, okay, which ideas are the key ideas? So read the entire paragraph and notice what is the role of each and every sentence in the paragraph. So notice the role. Is it a key point or is it just an example that is supporting the key point? So is it a key idea or a supporting idea? You have to identify that. Because while the key ideas have to definitely figure in the summary, examples may not, dates may not, numbers may not, right? So read the paragraph carefully and identify the role of each and every sentence. That will tell you whether it is important or not. Okay. Another thing, focus on the opening and closing sentences. I'm not saying that just read the opening and closing sentences and nothing else, but often they carry important information. So please pay attention to them. And yes, very important, transition words or connectors as we call them, words such as but, however, although, moreover, they tell you that there is a turn now in the discussion. The discussion is taking a turn. Okay, so these turns are important because the following sentence might carry very important information. Right, so pay attention to this but, however, although, moreover, because the following information can be a key idea. All right. So you have to pay attention to these three things. Okay, then let's have a look at a question. So first read this paragraph. Okay, read this paragraph and tell me which are the important ideas in this paragraph. That's your activity. All right. Red. Okay. So tell me, is this sentence important? The first opening sentence? Because it is important because it tells me what I am going to discuss in the next few sentences here. The sequence of alphabetization. Okay, the alphabetization order A, B, C, D. This is the order, right? B comes after A. So that is why I told you that read the opening sentence carefully. Now look at the transition word but. I told you that we should focus on it. Yes. So this gives me a key idea. Okay, an important point in the paragraph that it was not an immediate consequence of the alphabet itself. Okay, that it wasn't that we invented alphabet and we adopted the order also right away. No, that did not happen. Then what happened? Because of this respect for the church, ecclesiastical means related to the church, because of the respect for church's traditions, that these traditions left scholars reluctant to categorize things according to the alphabet. To do so would be a rejection of the divine order. So we did not categorize things according to the alphabet, right? We did not order things as A, B, C, D. Okay. So then what happened? The rediscovery of the ancient Greek and Roman classics necessitated more efficient ways of ordering, searching, and referencing texts. So a need arose. Government bureaucracy in the 16th and 17th century. Now, see this. Government bureaucracy in the 16th and 17th centuries quickened the advance of alphabetical order. So, we are first saying it wasn't adopted immediately, right? It wasn't adopted immediately. It then gives us the reason why it wasn't adopted immediately. Then a need arose, and then something hastened the pace, something quickened the pace of adopting alphabetical order. This is what this paragraph is about. So when I read, see, I've underlined a few places here. These are the important ideas of this paragraph. This is how you have to read. Pay attention to the opening and closing sentences. They'll give you important information, right? See how each sentence is related to the other. So I know that now the author is going to introduce a key point after but. Okay, then I have established that, okay, this is the reason of what has been stated after but. Okay, this sentence gives the reason of that. So in a short paragraph, most of the sentences they will carry their own importance. But are you able to identify the overall emphasis of the paragraph? The overall emphasis is on why it wasn't immediately adopted, the sequence of alphabetization, and then why it was finally adopted. And that has to be summarized. Okay, so why it wasn't immediately adopted and then why it was finally adopted. So let's see. I'm giving you some options now. Let's see what you mark as the answer here. Read the options and tell me. Okay, what do you say? Okay, is it visible now? I made a slight change to the position. Okay, so I've got B, D, B, all right. Okay. So it's B versus D in the chat box. What about others? What do you say? Come on, come on. I want more responses. Okay, let's have a look. So D says, unlike the alphabet, once the efficacy of the alphabetic sequence became apparent to the scholars and administrators, its use became widespread. Okay, so what does this sentence mean? Who will tell me? Option D says, unlike the alphabet, once the efficacy of the alphabetic sequence became apparent to scholars and administrators, its use became widespread. This sentence implies that while once we realize that okay, alphabetic order is important, its use became widespread. The use of alphabet did not become widespread. That is what D implies. But does my paragraph say that? No, right? So, my paragraph does not say that alphabet's use was not adopted even after realizing its efficacy, whereas alphabetic sequence was adopted once its efficacy was realized. No, that's not the point itself. Okay, so D is drawing a contrast that is not even there in the paragraph. Okay, the paragraph does not discuss how the alphabet's use spread. It just says that alphabetical order was not an immediate consequence of the alphabet itself. So D is eliminated. Now, I actually expected you to get confused between A and B here. Okay. I probably, because unlike was not visible to you, maybe that's why this happened, that some of you said D. So between A and B, I am happy that many of you have marked B as the answer, right? Which is the answer. Now, A is not the answer. Why? Because A does not tell us why it was not adopted initially. I told you, no, that this paragraph is about three things. The fact that it was not adopted immediately, why it was not adopted, and then what led to its eventual adoption. These three things. So B takes care of all these three things. That it took several centuries to gain common currency, to be adopted widely because of religious beliefs, so ecclesiastical tradition, remember, and lack of appreciation of its efficacy in the ordering of things. So once we realized that we needed more efficient ways, right, once the government bureaucracy actually came, then only its use became widespread. Hence, B Bangalore. Okay. uh, any other confusion? Please tell me. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that B and C and D were not visible to you. Okay. Should have realized this. Okay. Actually, I couldn't reduce the font size also because this is 14. If I reduce it further, no, it would have become, if I did that, it would become very small. Anyway, the things that we realized while solving were that elimination is the key. So, for instance, let's say you were confused between A and B or B and D in the previous question. You had to eliminate and see which is the most comprehensive, which is covering all the key ideas, right, out of these two. Then a summary is not a conclusion. So, please do not infer or conclude anything on your own. Students do this, that they derive conclusions on their own and think that is the summary. No, you've not been asked to conclude anything. You've just been asked to state what is already stated in brief. That's it. And Avoid the traps that you would avoid for an RC question. So summary question, I say that it is very similar to an RC question, because all those traps like broad, right, too vague or incomplete, all the traps that we take care of when we attempt an RC question, we have to take care of these traps here as well in a summary question. Right. So when you practice your summary, you actually reinforce practice for RC passages and vice versa. Ordain is to see, ordained by the church means that this has been declared by the church. Okay, where has this been used here? Mm, so ordain is, so basically a ceremony happens and you are ordained to do something, or you are ordained, when you're ordained you're given a position by the church. So it's a formal ceremony that declares that you will do so and so thing, or you've now become so and so person. That is the meaning. Okay, it's a religious term. So I hope this makes sense. Yes, para summary. Okay. Now let's talk about para jumbles. What should you do? So what should my solving approach be like? First things first, you have to be alert towards the clues. When will that happen? When you read with concentration. So a lot of times, students read superficially, therefore they skip, they're not able to identify many of the clues, many of the transition words they skip that actually help them to make connections. So please don't do that. When you're not given options, it becomes all the more imperative that you read with concentration, you're alert towards the clues, right? In addition to these transition words, these connectors, you should also notice similar ideas or similar words. Let's say some synonyms are there. So yesterday only I was doing this question with some students, and we had these we had born as a word in one of the sentences and emerged as a word in another sentence. So I showed them the connection that, okay, here we introduced that this was born on so and so date, and then how this concept emerged popular, right? So there is a connection because of these similar words. So notice such synonyms, notice antonyms if they're there, notice similar ideas. There may not be just single words, but the idea may be a similar idea, the idea may be a contrasting idea. So please open your mind when you read a parajumble question. You will see that the sentences are all interconnected. They will either have similar ideas, contrasting ideas. They will have a lot of connectors if you pay attention. Another thing that helps tremendously, especially for difficult parajumble questions, is this: identifying the flow of the paragraph. What do I mean by flow? I mean the structure. Okay, so sometimes, for instance, there may be some sequences present, right? So let's say there is chronology that can help us, or let's say there are some steps given. So note, identifying, okay, this is the first step, this is the next step, that can help us. Sometimes realizing that this paragraph flows from a general statement to specific examples. So this is the flow from general to specific. That helps. Sometimes realizing that this is a compare and contrast paragraph. So first we talk about, let's say, the life of one scientist, and then we contrast it with the life of another scientist. So noticing this helps us a lot in identifying the order. So these are certain different things that I'm telling you. I know that you already know about various connectors, however, but etc. You know about grammar-based clues, right? So these two are things in addition that you must pay attention to. All right. Hope this makes sense. And we can attempt some questions. So look at this question here. No options. Okay, because it's a type in the answer parajumble. Give me the sequence for this parajumble. I hope I'm not hiding text. I'll just get to know in a while. So I'll just go invisible for a while. Okay, I think that will be the best. Okay, got my first sequence. All right. Okay. I need more responses. Okay. So I see two similar sequences. All right, let's discuss. So I'll just come back and become visible. Now, see, sometimes the opening sentence of a paragraph is very clear to us. And this is one such question. Okay, so we are blessed that the opening sentence in this paragraph was very clear. Three is the opening sentence. Okay, and I think all of you identified this. Although your sequences are different, all of you have given me three as the opening sentence. So, good. Okay. Think of this as, arranging people in a row. Think of these parajumble questions like your LR questions. You are making people sit in a row. Okay, there is a but here, so that will also help me. There is an and there, and that in turn, what? What in turn? Noun pronoun relationship, that will help me. So, what in turn should increase our humility and the respect with which we treat our fellow citizens? Yes, some realization, right? Yes. So, the more we are able to accept that our achievements are largely out of our control, the easier it becomes to understand that our failures and those of others are too, right? And that in turn should increase our humility and the respect with which we treat our fellow citizens. So, this realization, accepting this will make, this should increase our humility. So, 1 and 4 seem like a mandatory pair. Okay, but I'm not writing it right now. Let me just figure out where 2 fits. Maybe 2 can come in between them. Okay, or where will 2 come? Will it come here? Will it come here? Should it be 3214 or 3142? Let's figure that out. But okay, so there's a contradiction. The raft of recent books about the limits of merit. So here I talked about meritocracy. A person being higher in the hierarchy because he or she is more meritorious. So meritocracy as an organizing principle is an inevitable function of a free society, as we are designed to see our achievements as worthy of reward. But the raft of recent books about the limits of merit. So I state one point that okay, meritocracy is something that is there in a free society, but actually recent books are telling us that there are limits to merit. Okay, so 3 2 is connected thematically also, grammatically also. And then will come 1 and 4. So 3 2 1 4 is the sequence. Does that make sense? Tell me, tell me, tell me. I hope this is clear. All right. Then let's see. Let's sum this up. So the initial few words can have many clues. For instance, what were our initial few words in the question? But, and, that, right? Then meritocracy. So they helped us identify, okay, this is the opening sentence, here is a contradiction, and that is continuing an idea, right? And that is continuing an idea. So these helped us to make a sequence. So I'm not saying that just read the initial few words and nothing else, but again, be specifically alert towards the initial few words. Use the mandatory pair approach. Okay, because again, it's the best approach out there. You in some paragraphs, the opening sentence may not be so clear, the closing sentence may not be so clear, but pairs you can always make, right? And always revise your sequence once. So read your paragraph in this order after making the sequence, because when you do that, you realize if something is off. If something is off, you realize it at the revision stage, especially important for a type in the answer parajumble, right? So if you do this and implement these 6 steps that I've just talked to you about for parajumbles, and you'll see an improvement in your accuracy in them. Okay, so then let's solve another question. Let's see. What you say about its sequence? Acha, am I hiding some text? Let me just check that. I'm going invisible. Okay. Got one sequence. All right. So this one is slightly more challenging than the previous one. Four of you have answered. I want more responses. I'll apply all the six things that I've told you and then we'll solve it. Okay. So let me just come back. Okay. So I've got 1432, 1423, 3421, 3214, 2341. So very varied sequences this time. Now, this invention, see, initial few words, the greatest of all inventions. That does not mean that I'll not read the entire sentence. Okay. Now look forward a few decades. So I'm going to the future to gain meaningful insights. Okay. All right. So this I'll have to, you know, place in some other context. So it's not immediately clear where this will be placed. I think I'll go and read this one first, three first. Because it talks about the greatest of all inventions and this talks about the future. The greatest of all inventions is the Uber invention that has provided the insights on which others depend. The greatest of all inventions is the Uber invention that has provided the insights on which others depend. The modern scientific method. So here I am naming the greatest of all inventions, right? Uh, okay. And this looks like I am introducing something, doesn't it? It looks like I am introducing something here. Okay. All right. Then four says this invention is inconceivable without the scientific method. So I don't think that 3 4 is a pair because here the invention itself is the modern scientific method, isn't it? Whereas here I'm saying this invention we could not even think about without the scientific method. So that means there is some other invention whose basis is the modern scientific method. Okay, so this is some other invention that I'm talking about. 3 4 is not a pair. Okay, that invention which has been called this invention here is talked about in one. Look forward a few decades to an invention which can end the energy crisis, change the global economy, and curb climate change at a stroke. What is that invention? Commercial fusion power. Okay. This invention is inconceivable without the scientific method. So I think that 1 4 is a pair. Okay. and then I'll now see where to put 3 and 2 and decide accordingly whether 1 4 is indeed a pair or not. Okay, see, 3 cannot come in between 1 and 4. That is for sure, because this invention is based on the modern scientific method. So 3 should come before 1 and 4. All right. Now, 2. To gain meaningful insights, logic has to be accompanied by asking probing questions of nature through controlled tests. So, fine, we use reasoning, but it has to be accompanied by probing questions of nature through controlled tests, precise observations, and clever analysis. Okay, now this is a future invention. So I am sure I'm not talking about this future invention when I mention this. I am rather explaining something that, okay, this is the process of this invention. So I am actually explaining the modern scientific method here. That what happens when we apply the scientific method to something, we carry out controlled tests, we seek precise observations, we go for a clever analysis. So it is just explaining the modern scientific method. So 3 2 is a pair. It explains what the modern scientific method is, what does it like, what how does it proceed, and then I say that, okay, in the future also we will have an invention that will be based on this modern scientific method. So 3 2 1 and 4. Good, Sonali. You answered the fastest. Divij also said 3214. Ritik said 3214. Shri said 3214. So happy that 4 of you identified the answer correctly. Make sense to all of you? So this was about our parajumbles, right? And I hope that these insights, initial few words, paying attention to clues, paying attention to similar ideas, the insights, right? And revising once you've made a sequence, all of these will help you. Okay. Coming to the next question type, position decider, which was a new question type that was asked in CAT 2022. This is actually an easy question type. Okay, so my approach for this, identify the clues when you read this missing sentence, the sentence that you have to plug. Okay, so this is the question type. So this is how the question looks. See this. uh, this is the sentence that is missing. You have to plug in at one of the places, right? You have to decide, okay, which is the correct place for it. So first things first, read this sentence very, very carefully. Why? Because you should identify some clues right here. Okay, you should identify some clues right here. And when you do that, you will be able to relate it with the succeeding or the preceding sentences very well. So this is your approach to this question, that you first remember all the guidelines of parajumbles, because when you make connections with all the preceding and succeeding sentences, ultimately you're applying the clue approach of parajumbles. Then read the missing sentence very carefully so that you're able to find some clue there. Okay. And pay attention to the immediately preceding sentence, immediately succeeding sentence. That is the context and how the paragraph is flowing. Okay. Again, what is the structure of the paragraph? That also helps you in plugging that specific sentence. Okay. Hope it makes sense. All right. So let's see this question now. Okay. The this paragraph may appear slightly abstract to you, but again focus on the fact that you just have to plug in this sentence. Okay, so it's it's possible that you do not understand what dual inheritance theory exactly is, but you, even if you're able to get a gist of it, get a rough idea of it, and you're able to just plug it, that's all that is required. Okay, read and tell me. Okay, ठीक है, all right. I hope okay, I'm blocking some text again, wait. Okay, some of you have already answered. Very good. Others? Okay. I need more responses. Okay. So let's discuss. Uh, can option 1 be the answer here? See this. Option 1 cannot be the answer because when you read this, so I told you pay attention to the context. So this entire thing is what? It's the context, right? The surrounding words for us. That it is actually defining the dual inheritance theory as to what it says. So this is a defining sentence, and this sentence is not of such a nature that it will come before a definition. So one is eliminated right away. The dual inheritance theory says that inheritance itself is an evolutionary system. It has variation. What makes us a new kind of animal and so different and successful as a species is we rely heavily on social learning. Okay. To the point where socially acquired information is effectively a second line of inheritance, the first being our genes. So when I read till here, it becomes absolutely clear to me what I mean by dual inheritance. Okay, so this theory is saying that we don't just inherit our genes. Okay, we don't just inherit behavior from our genes, but we also inherit it from social learning, what we learn from our surroundings. Okay, so now it becomes absolutely clear. Then there is a blank. Then it says people tend to home in on who seems to be the smartest. People tend to narrow down on who seems to be the smartest or most successful person around, as well as what everybody seems to be doing. Okay, the majority of people have something worth learning. All right. My sentence said when people socially learn from each other, okay, they often learn without understanding why what they are copying. So what they are copying, the beliefs and behaviors and technology and know-how works. So they often learn without understanding why what they are copying actually works, right? Okay, so this talks about social learning happening. It introduces that idea. And moreover, here also we talk about learning from others. So 2 seems like a very strong candidate. Let's read further. Okay, if 3 and 4 are eliminated, then 2 is our answer. There's a blank again. Then it says, when you repeat this process over time, you can get around the world cultural packages, beliefs or behaviors or technology or other solutions. Okay, so basically we are explaining what this cultural package is, beliefs or behaviors or technology or other solutions that are adapted to the local conditions. So which behavior, this process, which process is being repeated over time? Yes, But this narrowing down on the smartest or most successful person around and learning from him or her. When we, repeat this process of learning from the successful and smarter people around us, what we do, we actually evolve cultural packages. Okay, we can get around the world. Okay, we evolve these cultural packages, we adopt these beliefs, behaviors, technology solutions, and we even adapt it to our local conditions. Okay, so this can come here itself, because this introduces the idea of social learning, that okay, we start copying. This is how social learning happens. We don't even know why it is working, but we see it is working, we start copying. Okay, we copy the smartest people around us, we copy them over time, so that we acquire the skills and even adapt them to our local conditions. This now talks about psychology. So I don't think this, here we'll further the idea of psychology, right? The psychological angle will be explored further. Okay, so 4 also cannot be the answer. Between 2 and 3, 2 is better. You are absolutely right. 2 is the answer here. Does this make sense? Yes. Does this make sense to you? Why option 2 was the answer here? So I chose the toughest para completion question. See, para completion, these questions are new for us also, right? This question type came last year itself. So this is a CAT 2022 previous year question, okay? And this was the toughest question out of the 6 questions that were present across 3 slots. Okay, so I thought to do that one with you. And if you've understood this, if you've got this right, that means that this is indeed an easy question type for you as well. And if you look at the other 5 questions that I haven't covered here, very easy questions. Okay, so this should be attempted. Para summary is something that you can master with practice. Your RC prep will reinforce your para summary prep and vice versa, as I said. So please practice para summary questions. And some type in the answer para jumbles are also easy. So please don't think that you will leave them completely. Okay. So attempt position deciders in all the mocks. Okay. And again, give them a sincere shot even in the actual exam. Practice para summary questions from topic tests and PYQPs. And do not leave all the para jumbles. Okay. Don't think मैं तो सारे ही type in the answer छोड़ के आऊंगी. Right. Don't have this approach. Another thing that you need to learn is how to manage time well. You get approximately 10 minutes for these 8 questions. So learn to manage your time in such a way that, okay, let's say the easy ones are taking you about 1 minute, so that you have about 1.5 minutes to devote to questions such as, let's say, para jumbles, or if a para summary is more difficult for you, then for that. Right? So learn to manage time well. Practice these questions within a time constraint. Okay, odd one out, if it comes back, see, then again odd sentence out also used to be an easier question type if you compare it with a type in the answer para jumble, right? So we always advise students to attempt the odd sentence out, because they have to just identify one odd sentence there, isn't it? Okay, and out of the 5 sentences, just one odd had to be identified and it didn't carry negative marking, right? So that was a big plus. So we always advise students to, and I would still advise you that you should attempt odd sentence out. Okay. Any other queries that you have? Acha, the sources I have already given to you. So read from these sources, right? I also mentioned them earlier. Do read from these sources and solve as many questions as you can. That will make you better at VA. Right? You can unlock this 3-day free trial, right? I'm sure you know about it by now. These are our CAT 22 toppers. This is our CAT 23 batch. In case you wish to join, the next scholarship test is on the 9th. And this is the upcoming workshop that you must attend in case you're confused about your strategy, about your mock scores not being good, etc. Also, we are present across all social media platforms. You can join us everywhere, right? And I'll see you next time. I hope this session gave you some more insight into how to approach VA in case your accuracy has been low in it lately and you will implement all these things. Thank you, Shri. Thank you. Welcome, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.